Hello, welcome to Stone Astrology. My name's Jessie. This is your daily astro check-in. I'm going to be doing these regularly where you can dive into the psychic porthole with me. We look at astrology. I'll also be recommending different crystals to work with, and sometimes I might be pulling tarot. So each time will be slightly different, but the main undercurrent will be looking at what is happening astrologically, remembering that whatever the celestial transits are doing, wherever the planets are in the cosmos right now, they'll be triggering your chart in a unique way. So this is the collective energy, the potential, and then you can just apply it obviously to whatever is going on with you. So here we just come out of the Uranus and Venus Quincunx. So really, at a collective level, especially when it was in opposition before that, the last few months may have really felt like a transformative time within relationships. This may be romantic, or family, social, whatever that calls to you right now. Wherever you may have felt a tension, and this call for balance, this search for balance. Oppositions always do that. They invite us to find balance. And with the quincunx, the tension is still there. So you might have felt almost like an internal tension, or things that are unresolved, things that Uranus in Aries is wanting to kind of find a new solution to, wanting to find a revelational way of seeing things, or it might just be a completely new birth of your relationship, or your relationship with that person, those people, potentially even the relationship that you have with yourself. And Venus there in Sagittarius, ideal Sagittarius, in the quincunx has moved in there and actually just wants to find this sense of freedom. So what this quincunx has gifted us with is this opportunity to observe our values within any relationships that we care about, that feel strong to us right now, and to transform those and to transform our values. And it might be in a way that feels very spontaneous, or feels very sudden, or you feel like you're being pushed to make the change. It might feel, if you're uncomfortable making it, that you're really being pushed into it, certain patterns that you've got to break away from. And I'm not just talking about the physicality of relationships. For some, that might have been the case, but for others, it will also be, what are you breaking away from inside your own inner psyche? What patterns are you breaking? What knots are you untying? How are you healing your communication? And this is really what now, as we move out of this quincunx and this tension, this is what's really being gifted to us over this week and the rest of the week, next few days, is here you have Mercury in a square with Chiron. And hard aspects are sometimes looked at as challenges, but they're also opportunities. So, if things have been coming up for you, this chance over the next few days, you're going to have the moon supporting Venus on the 14th. It's going to be in a trine there with Venus and Mercury. This time of healing within your relationships, healing through communication, through the way you think about things. Remember that Mercury is not just how we communicate, but it also rules the mind, our mental functions. And with both of those planets there in Sagittarius, that you might be able to naturally find more of a philosophical way of looking at things, more of a laid back way. Sagittarius have this energy of being, laid back. It's also the arrow, that Cupid's bow. This might be a really healing time for those that are working with kind of romantic things that need to be resolved, and just this sense of freedom. Uranus does come in and shake things up, ultimately to help us free ourselves from something, from someone, physical, or free ourselves from any sort of emotional ties or chains that we may have even created ourselves, you know, and then the people, the relationships, the other, you know, the Venus representing the relationship is what is reflecting that back to you, so you can ultimately find more internal peace. So however this has been showing up for you, the next few days really are going to be that opportunity to find healing through communication, and to find more balance and harmony. Ultimately, that is what the opportunity and potential here is, especially as we have the moon here tomorrow. So on the 12th, the moon trine Chiron, really supporting that internal healing, emotional healing, any sort of deep subconscious wounds that may have been coming up. And especially with the sun having moved through Scorpio, sidereal Scorpio, the last month, you can see here it's 26 degrees, so it's coming out of its time in Scorpio. The last month may have been a time where your inner demons have come to the surface, where dark truths have come up to be liberated, to be healed, and to ultimately be released and transformed and rebirthed. And that is a big theme with Scorpio, is death and rebirth. So I see what this Uranus quincunx to Venus, as we've come out of it, it's actually been something that has been necessary to help us transform our values and our thought patterns in connection with relationships. And so the moon there supporting wound healing and emotional expression, going to be flowing on the 14th, when it trines with Mercury and Venus. And remember, with the moon, it does move quickly through the zodiac, and so does Mercury. So this is what I wanted to do, and I'm doing these astro portholes, because it's not a planet that you will look at that you'll say, okay, this is a major life change, or this is a big theme. You know, the lunar movements come and they go, so they can be very ambiguous how they're felt, but there are harmonious placements for the moon, and then more challenging ones. You know, we experience that as the moon squares the sun every moon cycle, and so those points are usually the points in the moon cycle where we have the obstacle. So even though it does move quickly, kind of understanding the energy of the day, or an energy of the few days as it moves, can be a beautiful way to be able to tap into that lunar energy and tap into that part of ourselves. You know, the sun and the moon are the two celestial bodies that we see. We see them daily. They're a part of our daily life. So honoring their cycles and tapping into the potential of their cycles, I sense, can be a really powerful way for us to connect with our cosmic mother and father. Mars in opposition with the sun. Again, we're going to be moving out of this opposition between Mars and the sun. This illumination moment where we had the full moon conjunct Mars, and you can check my video on Mars retrograde through the houses. It's going to be retrograde until the 12th of January. And so any themes that have been coming up from the 30th of October, and I sense any themes that you've been working with in general as the sun has moved through Scorpio, really revealing any darker shadows that are deep within you as a person, your identity, and this Mars opposition has come in, and just, you may have been a Mars person for someone, or you may have been a sun person for someone. And what I mean by that is the sun illuminates, and in opposition with Mars, Mars can come in and it can feel like it needs to attack or it needs to defend. And so as the sun has come along and shone a light opposite Mars during this retrograde, you might have been that light for someone else, or you might have been that warrior, if you like, that not necessarily the attack, but you might have been that Mars person, or that Mars experience or energy come in. And both of these have been important for finding balance between what is this retrograde really teaching us, why are we slowing down in that part of our life, what is it that we need to reevaluate. And actually for some, the Mars retrograde might not have been felt as a negative thing. You know, even for some it might have been painful and hard and conflictive. Yes, is that warlike energy to Mars. But for others, I was actually speaking to someone and she shared with me that her and her partner work so much, so that lazy energy of Mars in Taurus, where actually she noticed that their work had slowed down, but it had meant that they'd actually had time to go and just enjoy being with friends, enjoying kind of food and comforts and life's, you know, good things. And that was really, really healing for her relationship. So that's been her experience in a positive way of Mars retrograde. So however Mars retrograde has played out for you, whether it has been positive or whether it has been more challenging or whether you've not really felt it, you know, ultimately this opposition with the sun will have highlighted any major themes in connection with that. And for some, it will have been a conflicting situation or a conflicting person come in and challenged any kind of reflections or anything that you've been working with in connection with your shadows and your identity. And remember, this is on the spectrum of the Taurus Scorpio sidereal axis of Taurus and Scorpio, so themes around security, financial security, anything physical in terms of home, comforts, feeling safe, but also for some, the enjoyments of life and just Taurian-like things that are all about sustenance and feeding the body through our basic needs. So the security there, and then here with Scorpio, our emotional attachments, our insecurities, our truths, all of the emotional security, which is on the flip side, and at the deeper level, the deeper dimensions of life. This is, you know, really is a big theme that may have been coming up for people as the sun has been moving there through Scorpio, and then really hitting that Mars opposition over the full moon. So any shadows that may have come to light, see it as a gift. And I really sense that the energy will be lightening up with now this quincunx now moved, this Venus has moved away from Uranus. We're going to be coming out of this Sun-Mars opposition, and then the moon is going to be trining Venus and Mercury. There is still that square between the Sun and Neptune, and it will be there for a little while longer. But Neptune has now gone direct, so any kind of illusions or a feeling of confusion around themes that have been playing out for you, you might feel just generally clearer about certain things, and that's a healthy place to be in, especially with this Venus and Mercury conjunct, and you know, using this time as a time of healing to actually embody any revelations around change, be it within your own self-identity, be it within specific relationships that have shown up as mirrors. And so the crystals I'm recommending for you are turquoise. Turquoise is the stone of Venus, one of Venus's stones. Copper is the metal. The phosphates mineral class is connected with Venus in stone astrology. This brings us balance. Phosphates bring us balance, and turquoise has a whole host of other healing programs, including its structure, which has this protective element to it. It makes us adaptable, the ability to adapt to situations, and this cool color of the turquoise really coming in and neutralizing any overheated Uranus in Aries, this kind of hot tension, you know, it may not have been a bad thing for some, but, you know, in general, just any sort of overheated tensions or energetic inflammation, this turquoise is really amazing stone to bring balance for that through its color healing program. With connection, if anyone's really been feeling this sun square with Neptune, kind of illusions, or just feeling slightly confused, or not, just sort of things coming up for you, but really being challenged by some of Neptune's qualities. Their Labradorite, I always think Labradorite is an amazing stone to work with in connection with Neptune or Piscean themes, anything that requires us to get clear. You know, especially the water signs, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. Well, actually, Scorpio tend to actually have an innate intuition that allows them to kind of know what they're going to say and how that's going to fall. Pisces also have an inner intuition, but it comes from a space of unconditional love, so the boundaries can get blurred and they can sometimes end up being in that self-sacrifice mode. But on the whole, with the water signs, there is this kind of the energy that, you know, if it's not brought into more of a mental realm, the emotions can create confusion. And so I think Labradorite is the one I'd say work with in that, in connection with the sun square Neptune. Neptune is the modern day ruler of Pisces. And for any themes at the moment that you're working with around the heart space with Chiron there in Pisces, you know, it's not always easy to kind of find our truths, especially when we're thinking from the heart space, you know, to move from the heart, but to also use the limits of the mind is a skill. And so Labradorite is going to be a good one for those to work with during meditation, during the dream world. Use it as a dream stone and just see what information comes to you when you really dip into your heart space. So in connection with how long or how to use your crystals, meditation, you can also visualize the stone and yourself turning into the stone. I love that meditation. Visualize the color if the color is really something that you're connecting with, and using it as a dream stone. It's a really powerful way to work with crystals for two reasons. One, you're in your gamma state, so you're already in that unconscious space when you're sleeping. And two, you're uninterrupted for 6 to 8 hours. You know, you're actually really able to allow the crystal to work calmly with your field and to bring the balance that it needs to bring. And this is where working with crystals over a longer period of time can be really beneficial, and really just working with one stone, really allowing that stone to work with you and to interact with your field and note the change. Other ways, obviously, wearing it as crystals and in jewelry. So you wearing it again for longer periods of time. And it depends on the crystal. I'm actually going to do a separate video on this, but you know, some crystals work more quickly than others, especially if you have a similar geometric structure within your auric field. Some crystals are going to work with you more quickly than others. I know, for example, obsidian works with me super quickly. Others, it might take longer. So it's all relative, and you will begin to familiarize yourself with which crystals you're more attuned to. And sometimes the crystals that take longer to work with us are actually the crystals that we do need, because they're the ones that are really going to help us bring balance. And I'm talking now a lot in connection with the structure of the stones. But on all levels, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, the crystals have keys, and they do work with us, sometimes faster, sometimes longer. So taking your time to work with your crystals through the dream realm can be really beneficial. Other than that, meditation, obviously, and just having them with you, placing them in your environment. But really for the purpose of healing and working with your star codes, definitely placing them on the body, having them on the body, or using them through meditation. Thanks for joining. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. These astro check-ins I'm going to be doing 3 to 5 times a week, so definitely subscribe and click the bell so you get notified if you want to come and visit again, and just stay up to date with the celestial bodies and the movements. Like I said, I'll sometimes be pulling tarot, sometimes I'll be channeling some messages with quartz, so it will be a different experience.